challenges we face when we enter a new relationship after divorce. And so we're not sort of talking about the casual, sort of straight after divorce. Often you'll probably have a casual dating scene with a couple of people, maybe, because you're trying to find the new normal, and sometimes you might be feeling lonely. But we're more talking today about the serious relationships that you enter after a divorce, where possibly it's a blended family. If you've got children, they may have some children, so you're navigating kids. And for you, you have your ex-spouse that you have to, be in between your new partner and your ex-spouse. And I've also been the ex-spouse, and my ex-husband was the one in the middle between me and his new partner. So I thought it would be interesting to share a little bit about both our experiences with that today, because, as we talked about, many people will be going through that. I mean, there's not many people who get divorced and then that's them for the rest of their lives. Most of us will end up in new relationships. And how do we navigate those new relationships? So you are in a relationship now. And this is blended, isn't it? You have blended children. So what's the situation with you guys? How did you navigate that initial beginning part?
Yeah, so she's my second girlfriend since the divorce. She also comes from a divorced home. I think we both probably dated right after our divorces, and we learned separately that introducing the children to each other is probably the last step of like that phase when you first meet, because it can be confusing to kids to meet significant others. And so it shouldn't just be a random date. You shouldn't be, it should definitely be well thought out and well planned when kids are meeting the new girlfriend or boyfriend, especially when there's other kids involved, because now they have a relationship. Now they consider each other sisters. We've been dating now for a year and a half. So they have a rapport, they have a relationship. I also think back to like when I first got divorced and my ex-wife started dating. I don't want to put her business, all of her business out of the street, but I'll put some of it. She started dating before we officially like started separating and got divorced, and I knew about it. It's not like it was a secret.
Yeah.
But that didn't make it easier for me to deal with.
Yeah.
And so I think most people going through a divorce, there's going to be one person that starts dating and one person that moves on before the other one does.
Yeah.
I think, at least from the people that I've talked to and the experiences that I've been through.
Yeah.
And that is one of the hardest things to get over, because the fear of the unknown, who is she dating? Why is she dating? Is she the reason? Is he the reason that we're getting divorced? And then you start to think about like, should I follow them? Should I like, your mind starts to like really, really work against you in those kind of moments, and just stopping and letting that go is, anybody that's been through that would not say that that's easy, but from a legal perspective, from an emotional perspective, don't do that. All right. You're not going to get closure from that. I'm sort of going on a tangent here, but the idea is that in divorce, one person does start dating, the other person eventually is going to start dating. And that's a really, really difficult time, really, really difficult thing to deal with. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it can be, it brings up feelings of, even if it's a mutual separation, it can bring up feelings of rejection, and it can bring up feelings of, was I not good enough? And yes, was this going on beforehand? I think my ex-husband had a partner almost immediately, but I don't know. I mean, so, I had to deal with a lot of things like that as well, a lot of those types of emotions in the initial stage. It wasn't jealousy, because the relationship between us had pretty much, we knew it was over, but there's still that I've written about, from my end, when I had to accept that, it was this real fear about being replaced as a mother to the kids, especially when you've got children. You're also thinking, here comes a person into my kid's life, and I have no control over what happens when they're with that with their dad, because that's their custody arrangement, on that second week. What happens over there happens over there. So the biggest part, there's so many things that come into it. So there's the jealousy or the rejection or that feeling abandoned, and then there's also the worry, just the concern for the kids, and I can't control this. So there's having to let go of things we can't control, which is one of the hardest things for us all to do in life, let alone our kids, so our kids come into it a lot. So I managed to get through that okay. But I was lucky that, both of them were quite open with me about talking. She was fairly open with me. She wasn't one of those people who said, I refuse to meet her. I've actually had that happen where my partner later down the line, his ex refused to even entertain the idea of me. So that was really challenging. So how's the relationship with your ex-spouse versus, with your first partner and now this partner that you have now? Did you run into those types?
Yeah, I think I don't think either of them would consider each other like friends or anybody they would hang out with by themselves. But we've hung out in a strange way. They provided value for each other when they needed it. My girlfriend was going through a health issue where my ex-wife is an expert in that field, ironically. And so they leaned on each other in a very ironic, but everything kind of happens the way it's supposed to, kind of a way. So that was refreshing. That's not normal. That's definitely unique, and I value that relationship. But I think there's a lot of things you touched on there too. Control, understanding that once the kids leave the house, especially with children, once they leave the house, once your spouse leaves the house, you can't control that. You couldn't control them before in that way, but from a safety and a love perspective and having their best interests in mind, you have to let go of that. And so we talk about mindfulness and all that. It's sort of a core pillar of mindfulness is like controlling the things that you can control. And really for me, it's my thoughts. It's really the only thing I have any control over. I can't control what if anybody else responds to a video like this, or if somebody else is going to love my children the way that I do. I mean, it's just not realistic. One of the things that was always in the back of my mind is her new boyfriend going to replace me? Yeah. Or my kid's going to call him dad? Like I know days replaying this over in my mind, and it was really an irrational thought in hindsight. I am dad. I will always be dad. She is mom. She will always be mom. It doesn't matter who comes into their lives. They know that. Yeah. They can have love for my girlfriend now. They say, I love you, good night. Yeah. But that'll never replace I love you, mommy, or I love you, daddy. It's completely different. And so I think me and you both having that same thought. Yeah. It's probably something that a lot of people that are going through divorce with children are feeling. Yeah. And really it's like, I don't know if it's a fear thing or, I'm sure a psychologist would be able to analyze those fears, but let that go. It's not a rational thought, and your kids know who their parents are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you say a psychologist, if you do sort of try to get under some layers, which when you become very mindful, it's not really about you do start to think of your patterns and what triggers fear in you and what triggers pain in you. And so I know for me, abandonment and rejection is a major trigger. And so that's the feeling. I remember the feeling like when I wrote an article about this, and it was about meeting her. And I remember meeting her and having a coffee with her and chatting with her. She asked to meet with me. And then when I left, I just remember that feeling of this complete and utter feeling of I'm losing something. I'm going to be replaced. I'm losing something. And it was almost a panicky feeling. I was like, oh my God, like I have to move aside. And it took me a long time to work through that. Like what you were saying, it took me a long time to realize, and it was only through going through the process that I realized I'll never be replaced. I'm always their mother, and it's a different type of relationship. And yeah, so that, but it took time to get through that, and it took a feeling of I'm not as important as I was before. So that was like a feeling of not being as important. That was hard to deal with. But then eventually I realized they can love somebody else, and that's healthy to love other people. It's actually even healthy to have conflicts with other people and contrast. I call it, the contrast of life. And I also said when I was reflecting back on it, is that kids have a lot of people in their lives that influence them, and that they have love for, and that they go to for mentorship and things like that, like their sport coaches or their teachers or your friends of the family, other adults. And we don't worry about the relationship they have with those people, because we understand that it's a healthy relationship, that kids need other adults in their lives. But for some reason, when it's your ex-spouse's new partner, there's this other level of fear and other level of anxiety around it. So it's helpful to see that both of us worked through that, I think. And looking back, when I didn't need to worry about that, our relationship is solid, and it felt even more solid, actually. It almost solidified our bond and attachment even more in some ways, because it was like, your mum, we know when we come back what it's going to be like. And interestingly enough, so though they're not together anymore, that partner, their relationship ended, and there's been a couple other partners since then. So you blow it up into this massive big proportion, and then you look back and go, well, that person's and now not even around. So you don't know. It's that whole journey, and understanding it's a journey, and that things change constantly. It's getting used to change as well is quite hard.
Change is quite hard. Change is inevitable. Change is constant.
Yeah.
We are in a perfect world. We're growing and adapting and changing as humans every day, and therefore all of our relationships are also changing every day.
Yeah.
So the person that I was the last time we met last week is really not who I am today. The core principles of who I am is still there, and all that's still relevant. But I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm pushing myself every single day, and you are too. And anybody that is focused on growth from a personal perspective, that's their mantra. That's what they're focused on. So, ironically, my ex's then boyfriend asked to meet me too, and I think that's what you said. And I actually said no. I think the reason that he wanted to was not probably for the same reason that you wanted to. It was my understanding that he wanted to because jealousy. She and I have known each other since she was 14 and I was 16. So I'm 41 now, a long time, 20 something years.
Yeah.
And we've been through everything together. And he felt threatened by that. And so he wanted to set a boundary with me. And I had moved on romantically, and I still have it wasn't going to do me any good.
So when you refused to meet him, when he asked to meet you and you said no, I mean, how did that go down? You just said no, and that was that? Or was there animosity after that? Was it awkward?
No. Yeah, I mean, that was it. It was, I understood what he was getting at. I think my message was, no, this is a non-issue for me. This is really something that you need to work out yourself between the two of you. You got to have a boundary. I can't fix their problems. I got my own problems to deal with. Good luck.
Well, if I look at my situation then, so that was me meeting my ex-husband's new partner. And then when I entered a new relationship, that was serious enough. And I dated this person for a year before we introduced the kids. But my ex-husband was okay to meet with him. So they did meet. And we had a beer and a barbecue and just did the meet and greet, and that was fine. And then, but then ironically after that, he then turned and refused to have anything else to do with my ex-husband. So the jealousy really came out after that. I think it was, when I look back, I think maybe it was like a show, because he'd seen how I was and that we were able to be adults about it over here. And so I think he was trying really hard to get there, but when it came down to it, he couldn't help that jealous feeling, like, I don't want to be, and he would say sometimes, it's not right. And, it wasn't a very, I'll be honest, it wasn't a very healthy relationship. We're not together anymore, but he would try to say, this is not right. And I would think, why is it not right? We're all adults here. I can't see why we can't all. And so the reason I wanted to sort of bring this up is because I do believe that if you can get to that place, really try to get to that place. It's better for the kids to see everybody being adult about it. You know, I think it's not good sometimes when the kids do see this, oh, I refuse to, you know, I don't really understand. I know sometimes there can be a lot of hurt, a lot of pain if something's happened, maybe if there was infidelity and that's why this new partner's on the scene. I wouldn't, I'm not judging, but I just think if you can get to that place where you can sit all together and be together and not have that absolute refusal to even try, because I think that's very closed-minded. And I think it's like, as we talk about mindfulness, it's like, it's kind of get above. This is very hard for people, I know, because I'm still always working on it, but get above your own ego, you know, get above your own fears and issues and look at the bigger picture. What's the best thing here if everyone can get to that place? And just maybe be a little bit, make a sacrifice if need be, you know?
That really is like, it's intention, right? So at the end of the day, and this is again, mindfulness, a big part of mindfulness, right? What is the intention in doing X, Y, Z? What is your intention for your boyfriend to meet me? What is your intention for you to meet with your ex's new spouse? What is your intention in following your soon to be ex-wife to go out to dinner on a date?
Yeah.
Really, really, like, and on the surface, it would be, well, I want to know what I don't know. Why? Yeah. Is it because your ego is not allowing you to say this marriage is over, because it's very clear that the marriage is over? Is it because you feel that abandonment issue that we've talked about? Have you lost trust? And all these things are okay. All these things are normal in the process of divorce, that you're healing from a trauma. And so what is your intention in doing whatever it is? You can equally spend your time doing something positive. Instead of following her to dinner, take yourself to the gym, go for a hike, go sit and meditate. Really, like, analyze these thoughts and be your own like therapist in a way. And really, like, what is your intention in doing whatever it is that you're doing? Why are you dating that next person? Why did you date that? Like, for me, I met somebody I went on one date. I don't know if we talked about this on this show yet. This is the truth. I got divorced. I set up whatever these accounts are, Tinder or whatever. The very first date I went on ended up being my girlfriend for a few weeks or months. I don't even know how. It seemed like probably 2 or 3 months we were dating.
Yep.
She was perfect for me at that time for many reasons. She was great with kids. She was a former attorney, and she was working in real estate. And I had to refinance my house. And I was obviously going through a legal dispute with my divorce. I was like, this person crossed my path for a reason. And I'm not saying I'm going to get married to you, but for right now, we're perfect for each other.
Yep.
And we were, and it was great. And the kids loved her. And, you know, I'm not, in no way was I intentional with leading her along. I was honest with her every step of the way.
Yeah.
I know that there was hurt in the end. I feel bad. I still feel bad for it, but everything happens for a reason. People come into your life when they're supposed to, they leave when they're supposed to. And the pain is when you try to hold on to that for a little bit too long. Yeah. And just what is your intention? And really, really own whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah.